This broadcast will start in 15 seconds. This broadcast will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, The Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Good morning, Stocktonians in San Joaquin County. I'm so excited to be here today with our Tales and Tips show, and I'm so honored to have Diane Oren, who is running for San Joaquin Delta trustee, and that's Area 4. And I'm just so amazed. Diane and I have been chatting. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here, and thank you for asking me. I'm just delighted with this.
And I'm excited to have you here. And we were just discussing how large the area is that you are needing to go out and reach people. And we were talking about how amazing a school Delta is and the opportunity it affords people in our community and beyond, and how cost practical it is to go there and how easy it is to transfer. So let's talk about you, Diane. Let's talk about your background. Why are you running for office, and why Delta?
Well, Delta plays a big role in this community. Its influence reaches throughout, and I've learned even more of the importance of Delta while I've been campaigning. I talk to people, and they always say, oh, yes, I went there. I went there for a class, or I'm there with the cycle program, or my children took Suzuki violin there. Mm-hmm. So Delta's very important. People remember the koi pond. They remember some of the older buildings. There have been people that remember when Delta was on the UOP campus in the Quonset huts.
Wow.
And that was before the campus was built in 70, 73. So Delta plays a big role in this community.
Our symphony is there.
Oh, absolutely. The symphony is housed there. And what beautiful facilities that is for a symphony.
Yes.
And a symphony that deserves the kind of facility that Delta offers. I was a teacher there for 31 years. I was in Manteca Unified School District for 14 before that, teaching English. And then there was the opportunity to go to Delta College as a professor. And I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go or not, and people had to convince me. I had quite a niche at East Union High School in Manteca. I was the district curriculum chair while teaching English. Wow. And one of my claims to fame is that I worked with what was called the Joaquin Club. This was the Hispanic students. And then there was a group of disenfranchised students who were just a small sector. And they needed a home and they needed a sponsor. And it was the black students. So just before I left, I had a lot of irons in the fire. And I'm very proud of that because I wanted to bring in all sectors and make them feel at home on that campus.
Awesome.
And I think we did that.
Diversity is pivotal.
It is. And the interesting thing is that they put me out in a portable classroom that was falling apart. And that was the best place for us because we could do what we wanted, put up our posters, we could create things. We had, I was also the cheerleader advisor. So, it was a mix of the population, and I was very proud of that. Just before I left, I was also going to be the PTSA president, Parent Student Teacher Association president, but then I got the job at Delta. But one of the last things that I did at East Union was to sew with some of the other women on the faculty the costumes that what were called the Camelot Maidens wore. There were 30 dresses that we were funded by one of the organizations on campus, and they're wash and wear so they could last the last 30 years or so. So I was sewing those costumes the day of the final, one of my last days at Delta College, sewing them to complete them so that the graduates could walk through this line of young juniors, junior classmen, to be honored. And it made the graduation. They're still wearing those things. And
Wow.
if you go to Delta, if you go to the East Union graduation, you'll see those dresses, and they're still wearing, and they're still wearable. With Blessed Claire Cargyle, who was a librarian who took care of those. So that was one of the things that I did, and that kind of reflects the kind of person that I am and what I do. When I
You
moved
want to
to
leave
Delta,
a legacy.
pardon me.
You want to leave a legacy.
Well, I just wanted to have them clothed mostly, but it kind of testifies to the kind of person I am. I just don't teach students, but I teach persons, and I'm interested in where I work and what I do. At Delta College, it was the same thing. I was hired to work as a reading specialist, and I learned so much about the students and their issues, and realizing why Delta College is so important to the community. Maybe later on I'll talk about some of the issues that I saw and how I, as a faculty member, addressed those issues.
That would be awesome to hear that.
Well, Delta is very special to me because it provided me an opportunity to be in the community, to work with the students in the community, but to realize the community that I'm in. I wasn't just a teacher who went home and graded papers, but I was the teacher who was there on campus. So that's really the reason that I'm running. I retired 2 years ago, and without the energy that the students provide, it's kind of empty. And that's why I'm running for office.
And I'd like you to talk about what you briefly were starting to mention, some of what you've done at Delta. And I'd like to know also, as a trustee, what you'd like to do for the students and how you see the role as a trustee and why it's important.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. While I was at Delta College, and this has nothing to do with the candidates race, but what it does have to do is, again, showing that I'm fully committed to an institution, whether it is working at a department store or working at a community college, but I give 100%. As an English teacher, I had students who were not doing well, so I offered study hall after my class. It just so happened I had free time afterwards, and I said, anyone who wants extra help, I'm here. Just come over here and talk to me. We'll work with you. If it's a writing deficiency, if it's a reading problem, we'll work after class. But we had to get the curriculum done, so I couldn't do that during the regular regular class time. So a group of athletes came up to me. These happened to be basketball players. And they said to me, Mrs. Orn, we can't stay for your study hall because coach won't let us. So I just mustered all of my feminine wiles. And I said, well, you just tell coach that I will meet with him and we can work something out. I'll figure something out. So the coach came to me and said, would you come to our study hall? And I said, sure, I'd love to. So for 10 years, I worked with the basketball coach in their study hall, working with students who needed help in reading and writing.
Awesome.
Music, chemistry, various subjects. And for 10 years, we worked together as a team. I was so proud of those moments, and that was the best time of my teaching career ever. I mean, I've done a lot of things, but working with those young men was exciting. It was also at the same time I was working on a doctorate at UOP in psychology, counseling psychology. And my dissertation was on the community college athlete and how we can transfer that athletic skills and athletic intelligence into academic intelligence, because they were very, very clever, smart, quick-witted, and delightful people. And it was that changed my whole teaching philosophy, watching the coach work, watching how the students learned, just being with them and seeing them as human beings. And to this day, we still keep in touch.
Awesome.
They're on my Facebook. They come to visit. I know their children. So it became a a passion and for both me and my husband. The result of that was that the athletic department established a study hall for them, almost a library, and they have a wonderful person who monitors them and has kind of taken over my place as mother of the athletes. But that's what I do. I just don't do the job, but I invest in the job. And I think that's one of the things that I have going for me. It's not just that Delta College was an 8-hour job or a 6-hour job with office hours. No, it was a lifestyle. That's why I think Delta is, and there are other people at Delta who are just like this. I'm not saying I'm the only one, but that's kind of the reason that I want to continue being a part of Delta College. So working as a trustee would kind of help at that. The role of the trustee is not to involve him or herself in the politics or the everyday runnings, but to oversee and to monitor and to provoke suggestions or to promote suggestions and to represent, and that's the most important part, to represent the community that we serve. Now, this is a nonpartisan position, so it means that we're looking out for all peoples, no matter what their political, religious, or ethnic, or their affiliation, but all people. Delta offers open door almost. There are things that students have to do to get in. The tuition is not really tuition, it's just to pay the fees and to cover the costs, and then the rest is picked up by the state, by the tax dollars that the people put in. So we are funded by the taxpayers, and we should reflect to the taxpayers how we spend that money, but also that we serve the taxpayers, finding courses that are needed, programs that are needed, and that's where I stand, and that's why I want to run for a trustee. The corridor between, this is what I say in my campaign statement, the corridor between I-5 and 99 is where most of our students come from. But our district runs from Wilseyville, which is way up in the almost at the foothills, Sierras, down to Tracy and parts in Alameda County, small little portions of that, to almost to Ripon, parts of that county, and then all the way to Rio Vista. Now, between that corridor, there's a lot of diversity, a lot of farmland, people who are working on farms, and we can certainly help train them in all areas of maybe agriculture. It's a vast job. I think we have an area that's comparable to the size of one of our smaller states, maybe Maryland, maybe Rhode Island, those states.
It's a huge area. It's amazing. And
But
you
diverse.
can't walk that, obviously.
No, we can't walk it. We've been trying to drive it. We have a very grassroots campaign. As you see, the first thing I did was made business cards with my name and my position that's on the back side. And then we started to get signs. And so we're putting up small signs. I'm not a lavish person, so I don't have a huge billboard size sign. I'm modest at times. So my signs are modest, and my campaign has been very modest. I don't have the backing. I have the backing of wonderful friends and family, but not backing from big money. And I think that makes me more receptive to the people in this area. I will listen to the people.
I was going to just say that you're a person of the people. And it was interesting when you walked into the studio, Desiree, our morning show host, recognized you right away. And she was one of your students. And several of our people that work in the studio have affiliations with Delta, and just listening to you talk and hearing how much you care about the students and want them to succeed, it's exciting.
Absolutely. I was at the library on Saturday, and there was a young lady who came up to me and said, I'm trying to get into Delta. And I said to her, let me give you some names of people and where to go. People that I could just recall off the top of my head. But it's important that we reach out to people and let them know what our services are and what we can do. And trust me, I have seen students who had apprehensions about even being in college. I've seen them come through the college and graduate, and that's the best time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Seeing them walk across the
awesome.
Stage. When I was in Manteca, and I hope that lady's listening, there was a lady who needed 4 classes, and it had been several years. And I talked to her for quite a while about how to do it, how to go back and get into Delta, get those 4 classes that she needs for an AA degree. There was another gentleman who was disabled. He was a truck driver and was disabled because of a back injury, but he was a veteran, and we have veteran services at Delta that will help him. You don't need to go through all of the online things if that's an intimidating factor, the online kind of thing. But you can go onto the campus and meet with someone who specializes in veteran services. You know, you might have to wait a little bit, but knock on their door and say, I want to go to Delta and I'm a veteran. There are so many people like that we need to reach out to. And it's because the district is so large and the needs of the people are so great. They're all very different, that we need people who will go out to them and say, come on in, we're here.
And the class sizes are small, which is great. And virtually anything that you're interested in getting education in, you can start at Delta and then potentially transfer to somewhere else. But all of the core classes are there.
The first 2 years of a transfer program are available. And my former basketball kiddos will say that they got the best education at Delta College in how to succeed in the 4-year degree. What they learned there took them all the way through their 4-year degree.
Awesome.
One of my young men, and he posted on Facebook, is in law school, and he said what he learned at Delta helped him compete at law school, because the law school requires a lot of writing, a lot of defense, a lot of argumentation, and defending what you're saying, presenting evidence, providing support. So I think that the programs at Delta offer what you need to succeed at the 4-year college, and that's what one of my positions is. It's also to provide programs that start people on a career path. And it may be it's a terminal career path where it's vocational technical education, but people change. I know I changed. I went from English to psychology, and then look at what I'm doing now. Come on, really. I am not prepared for this as far as a political science person, but I think Delta College's experience have provided a lot of help in that respect. I did not go to Delta. I'm not from this area, so my degree is from UCLA in English and speech. So that, is where my background is.
And you don't need to train to have compassion. I mean, that's something that comes from within, and it's obvious in hearing you talk how much you care about the students. And I think that's more important than any other training that you could have.
I am not unlike so many teachers at Delta. I can tell you that. I can name them. People who have provided scholarships for students, and they do this every month and don't tell anybody that there's a scholarship that they take from their own personal funds. People who have their own children who are, almost college ready. There are people who have funded people after they've graduated from Delta. So there are a lot of people who have a faith in this community and in the students.
Awesome.
And when they see that, people who spend extra hours after class working with students.
And we should give a shout out to Dr. Kathy Hart. She was here just a couple months ago, and you were talking about agriculture and how vital it is in our county and beyond. And I was excited to hear that there's 2 new professors that were hired for the area of agriculture, and she's planning on expanding so that Delta is relevant to our area.
Absolutely, and she listens to people. It takes time working with the laws in the chancellor's office and what their regulations are, and responsibility to the public and how they spend money. It takes time to get programs started. The Delta College Ag program was hit with a big blow that was economic and also with personnel related. Ben Beam was an amazing spirit behind that ag program. And unfortunately, when he passed away, that program was left to the few people who were there. You can't expect somebody to be teaching a full load and then trying to coordinate programs, to do program reviews. It was an inordinate task for 1 or 2 people to do. So, some of those programs weren't able to be continued, or they didn't have the enrollment. And a lot of that had to do with the economic downturn and, maybe the promoting of the programs. But the fact that that we have now 2 new programs that will transfer into agricultural, the kind of agriculture that is 21st century.
That's awesome.
Not just plowing and picking, that. It is something that will take students into the 21st century, and that there are new people who are hired to do that is an amazing faith in that program. I know that in the English department, we would have loved to have had a couple of more English teachers hired instead of using part-time people who are invaluable to the program, but who don't have the responsibilities of program review, of developing new classes, programs, because they have other things that they do. That's the full-time faculty's responsibility. So the fact that there are 2 new people hired, and when I was there was a new person hired as a replacement. A very good, it was a woman, in fact, which was exciting to see women in agriculture.
Yes.
And as you know, we're one of the foremost areas of women in the wine industry. So having that opportunity available for women and having a role model is certainly
huge.
a faith in that program.
Yes.
And when we look to the east and west of 99 and 5, we see that's what we are. We provide food and beverage for the whole country.
Yes, and the wine industry, especially in Lodi,
Absolutely.
is growing. You and I both went to the Eleanor Crushers event, and it was amazing to hear all of the women talk about how that particular area is changing and more women are becoming involved. And I just want to give a shout out to a friend of mine who passed a few years ago, Hazel Hill, and she was so pivotal in bringing Holt Caterpillar to Delta.
Absolutely. Hazel was a dear friend and a mentor and an inspiration.
Definitely an inspiration and a mentor of mine too. I wasn't sure if you knew her. I figured that your paths had crossed, and just a phenomenal woman, an Athena in our community, and just amazing. I miss her.
I do too. And that's where Kathy Hart comes in, where she's bolstered those losses and brought together faculty. It could have easily have been factioned off into camps, and instead she brought together people because people knew that she was from within. She wasn't somebody who was going to move up the ladder and out, and we had a lot of people like that. We're just fortunate to have somebody who would be willing to sacrifice to do that.
That's amazing. And Kathy is phenomenal too, and I feel like we're so lucky that she's the president of Delta. She's in Stockton Rotary, and she does so much for our community. Let's come back to you. Let's talk about, between now and the campaign, what are you going to be doing to get your message out, and how can any of our listeners help you? What do you need?
I would love for people to talk to their friends and neighbors and tell them who I am. I would like to run a very positive campaign, and I wouldn't want anything put out into media or told that disparaged my opponent, but that tells the positive qualities that I have. It's a person-to-person campaign. It has to be. I have signs, yes, and I hope people don't read too closely as they're driving, but when they're at the stop sign, to read that I am, read and recognize my name. I know that I have a lot of people who are supporting me. I think that my supporters have been very, very positive, and I'm truly appreciative of that. So it's talking to people and telling them my character and that I am willing to work, and I'm willing to work for Delta. I have served, as the Academic Senate President for the last 6 years before I retired. I had to serve on every committee there was practically.
Wow.
It was the planning and budget, the on hiring committees. I had to establish faculty for hiring committees. And when there wasn't a faculty member available or willing, I had to step in. And that was in concert with the union. There was always agreements with human resources and with the union, so that I would step in and do what was needed. I was someone who was committed to that college and wanted to find the best people to be on committees, to work, and who would be willing to work. So I would like my supporters to convince people that I am the best candidate.
How can someone get a sign, and what's your website, Facebook page?
Okay, I'm using my my Facebook page is Vote Diane Oren, and I would like them to go, if they have questions, just Google me, and it's dianeoren@google.com. I tried very hard to put up...
and that's O-R-E-N.
O-R-E-N, thank you. Tried very hard to put up my own website, but just got overwhelmed and didn't have time to do that because we've been out campaigning at various events. So please contact me. I would love to hear from people. If somebody has website expertise, we've got 2 weeks, and I would love to have that help.
I have someone I can connect you to for
Thank you.
that. So we'll talk about that later. So in listening to you, it's very obvious that you understand the inner workings of the campus, setting up programs, things like that, and the needs of the students. If you are selected as a trustee, how will you work to unite the trustees to get consensus on ideas and difficult conversations if there's things that trustees don't agree on?
I think that it's being prepared, doing the background, reading the literature, reading and knowing what the policies and procedures of the campus are. I'm surprised that some people believe that the Board of Trustees sits and just rules. They don't. They have to be prepared themselves. There is that shared process where faculty and administrators get together and present to the Board of Trustees. And that requires a lot of reading, investigating, asking good questions. And I think that's what a trustee has to do, asking the questions with their constituency in mind. How is this going to impact the people who are out in the community? I know that I will represent Area 4, which is North County. However, that's not what the trustee's role is exclusively. It's bringing the voice of that to the board, but working for what is best for the entire county or our district. I can't even say county. It has to be district because
it's beyond our county. Yeah,
that's right.
There's several counties involved. And how do you work to have your hand on the pulse of people in your district? How do you, or in your area, how do you know what they want and what
I
their
want to
needs
be
are?
available to the people who are my constituency. And I would certainly have more social media up so that people can contact me. I do belong to lots of the community organizations here in town. As you know, the Eleanors, University Women, let's see, where else do I belong to? Philomathian, Delta Kappa Gamma, Phi Delta Kappa.
That's
I've-
awesome.
Yeah, I've worked with lots of other organizations, and that's part of it. It's being out in the community and moving through those people's, talking to people. I know that not all people in those organizations agree with me, but that's good because then I find out what the needs are. Because if I've overlooked something, they'll tell me.
And you don't have to necessarily agree on everything, but it's important to know what the needs are so that you can work to solve if there's problems. And I was going to just ask you, that leads perfectly into the next question I was going to ask you, is what do you think the three main concerns are that are facing the students that are going to Delta?
Facing the students. Well, as I passed by the college this morning, I thought parking, but that's not. It's access to the classes that they want. Unfortunately, many students want classes that are convenient to their work times, and the college can't offer all that all the time. But there's always that online option. Now, that brings into the picture of those who are not online savvy or who have access to computers. And there's a large portion of our community, especially in the South Stockton, who don't have computers. Yes, there's always the library. We'll let you use their computers. But, for the amount of time that it takes for a class on a computer sitting in the library, then you have the children. So it is an economic thing, I believe.
And textbooks fits in with that too.
Oh,
Cost
the
of
textbooks, just astronomically priced. I'm just really amazed that textbooks are so expensive. $300 for a textbook, and it as an instructor or a professor, you have to make sure that you use that textbook, because I've heard too many cases of, well, I bought the book and we didn't use it. Now that might have been I didn't read it, but it was a sign, or it could be I didn't use it. So responsibility on the part of both faculty and students. There are online options in some cases. In a literature course, you can sometimes find, free materials.
Or used books.
And absolutely, or book loans. So some of that is what, would make it a little bit more cost effective.
Amazon is really good about book loans.
And very quickly they'll send. So it's the cost of college. For transfer students, they'll find that there is a big difference, but Delta offers that option of low cost first 2 years of college. That is an amazing deal. I know that we're trying to get a 4-year public state college here in the community. And there needs to be some work in concert for Delta to provide those first 2 years. And maybe as an option, think about this, all those chancellor's offices out there, providing the second 2-year option here as a state college or university. Then there's transfer to UOP. That's also an option for the transfer student. The cost at Delta is fractional compared to what it is at UOP, but UOP offers some very good incentives for transfer students because they know that the students from Delta are well prepared, they're motivated, and they are hard workers. And we have had many students move through Delta.
And there's scholarships at UOP as well.
They have scholarships and aid of all kinds. And several of my basketball players have gone to Delta, from Delta to UOP, and I'm so proud of them because they have matriculated through that system, and it was a very good system.
Awesome.
So Delta offers that to some of our students. Another challenge, I think, is the timing of courses. And it may be that, on campus isn't a good option for everyone. I'm thinking about the mother who has several children and they're in school. We can offer online courses that are suited to their time schedule. The student who has to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to just make, not all students live at home. Not all students are, have the gas money to get to school. So these are the people that I think are challenged. They may take a full load of classes, but then find that the job requires them to be there at certain times when their classes are scheduled. So that's another challenge. That student who can't take a full load and move through, which brings up the issue of the new requirements of funding. The proposal is to have students be funded, or the college be funded by students who complete. And what I'm concerned about with this proposal is that the curriculum might suffer. Students will be urged to move through without having the reading, writing,
The
computational skills that will get them to the next level, because the college will be funded on who completes, not who starts, but who completes. This also eliminates students who feel like I'm not prepared, and so they won't go. It's a really serious time. It's a challenging time and a pivotal time for the college. So I think that that's one of the other issues that we need to look at. On the other hand, because I'm frugal, I think that we owe it to the taxpayers to say, this is how your money is being spent, and we're doing a good job of it. I believed that before there were even questions about the way that the community college works. Not everybody comes in as an 18-year-old and knows where they want to go. I remember a student who came in and told me, "Are you still here?" She says, "I was here when I was just out of high school, but I dropped out, and now I'm back." And she had a family, and she had come back after 10 years.
Wow.
So, that's the kind of...
Kudos to her for coming back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope to see her at some graduation. But it's those issues that students face. And because Delta is very economical, they can get financial aid to help pay for that. But
you
also,
have a food bank also
Yes,
on
they
campus,
do.
which is awesome. I was
Yes.
really excited to hear that because I know that there is a need and students are struggling.
I remember going to Costco and filling up my basket, and I hope my husband isn't listening because I don't want him to know how much it cost. For students who were with me, who were buying things like cereal that they never had a chance to buy when they were a kid, or buying socks. Who would know that a student needs socks? But yes, we do have those needs. But students don't stay at that point. They move on and change. People
Which
change.
is great because Delta provides opportunities.
That's right. That certainly does. I know a colleague who had food stored in her office for students who were hungry and couldn't afford to go to get something to eat from the vending machine or from the cafeteria. Yeah.
Yes, Delta has such a huge role in our county and beyond, and it's really important. I'm really excited that you're running. I hope that you make it. Any last words, anything else that you want to highlight that we haven't touched on or that you want to emphasize again?
Well, as Academic Senate President, I worked with the faculty, the administration, and the Board of Trustees. And I think that my experience in those areas is something that allows me to be the better of the two candidates. I also have this passion for students, and the reason that the Board of Trustees exists is for the students of this, or the potential students even, of this county. The students who haven't realized that, well, I want to take a class, I want to learn about something. That's one of the missions of the community college system, is lifelong learning. And I'm not sure we're fulfilling that because we're costing out a certain faction. We have the cycle program, which is good, but maybe we need to expand that. We used to have...
I've taught for that.
Pardon?
The cycle program.
The
It's
cycle
awesome.
program. Yeah, and there's also at UP the OLLI program.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There used to be Children's College, or where kids could learn all kinds of different things. But again, it became prohibitive because of the costs. But again, maybe we need to look into some of those areas again.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, and I wish you the best of luck. And I want to let any candidate know that their voice can be heard at the Voice of Stockton. You're welcome to come out here and just contact the studio. And once again, I'm just so excited, Diane, that you're running for trustee at Delta Area 4. And it's wonderful to hear your passion and all of the things that you've already done in the community.
And everybody in the county or in the district votes, not just Area 4. So it's, I guess, district-wide, and it's a large district. So I believe I'm the very last person on the ballot, or on some ballots. So that might be the last thing you check off.
All right.
Thank you so much, Julie. I truly appreciate this. I really do.
You're very welcome. I don't know how you're reaching out to everyone in your territory, but I love your enthusiasm and your motivation. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, I'm going to sign off. I am the Voice of Stockton. You are the Voice of Stockton. We are the Voice of Stockton. Let's make it a great day.